Well, Over the Ditch is back for another week. One false start, but that's all we will have. We did try to get the show up and going last week. It didn't happen. Matty Markham, welcome back to Campbell's Comments, mate. I don't know if you remember me.
No, it feels like it's been a lifetime. Gee, imagine if we had to recap everything since the last time we sat down and did one of these chats. We'd be here for a week. No, nice to be back with you, mate. Great time of the year to talk harness racing, obviously, with what's unfolding on both sides of the Tasman. Obviously, the build-up to our New Zealand Cup Carnival here at Addington in November and all the Australian interest involved in that. And then just before I jumped online with you, I see the nominations for the Inter-Dominions are out as well. So we're getting to that time of the year as well, which is really exciting.
I didn't see those. You beat me to that.
Don't ask me to find them.
No, it'll be fine. We can discuss that next week. We can bring them up next week. We will say thank you too, because there's a 3-hour time difference right at the minute, which apparently is only 1 week. We go back to 2 hours as of next week, I believe. So we catch up, if you like, at the minute. But it does make it a little bit of a different time scheduling as well. So I do, appreciate that. There is so many things that have happened. Even last week, we did start to do the show. And in 1 week, it's just been amazing the amount of news that's come out on a positive scale for the industry.
Yeah, there's been plenty of it, both on and off the track as well, I guess you could say. We've seen the end of obviously Blue September with over $40,000 raised. Another great effort by everyone involved in that, and some wonderful things unfolding on the track as well. Of course, the Canterbury Classic last week had such big permutations for the New Zealand Trotting Cup, and we've got 3 horses out of it that have gained automatic entry. And I know that's a bone of contention for some people. It's not for me. I don't really care. That have worked their way into the Cup and grabbed a spot. 2 of them are from stables where the trainers, as far as I'm aware, don't have any more than 1 or 2 racehorses, which is fantastic. And the other one's an up-and-coming pacer who's got a massive future in front of him, an Ultimeteor. So, good times to be had by all, Paul.
That was at Timaru?
No, that was Addington. The Canterbury Classic on Friday night. Yeah.
I just want you to touch on a couple of these people, because quite often we do remember the big players. And I saw your tweet. I share a lot of your stuff you tweet out when I can. Trevor Proctor and Greg Manson. Now, both these gentlemen, it's so easy. Any of the Australians, go to the Harness Racing New Zealand website, hrnz.co.nz, go to the results, and you'll find that race. And then you can click on the person, and it gives so much detail into each of these people. But Trevor Proctor has only had 5 winners this season, only had 12 starters. So it's an amazing effort just to get a horse in a New Zealand Trotting Cup off such a low start, if you like.
Yeah, it is. And I know he's been helped a lot in the last few months by Mark Jones, where the horse has obviously been domiciled. And I understand that Trevor's actually even going to potentially bite the bullet and put the horse in Mark's name for the Cup, given he is the one that is training it. So a bit of a background to Trevor. He's from Southland, and his partner is a lady called Diane Dines, who was married to a legend of harness racing in Southland, Derek Dines, who raced a horse many years ago before I was born called Tactile, who was a very, very good horse. And that family of his has run through some incredible horses, particularly fillies. I think of a mare called Flash Tactics, who was a Group 1 winner here in New Zealand. There's been many horses with the Tact suffix that have come over to your side of the Tasman and performed very well. So they are all from that one breed that was started by Derek Dines. Trevor has always only trained a few horses, but he's had a very, very good strike rate over the years since he began training. This potentially is the best horse they've had out of the breed. Well, no, I don't even think potentially. I think he is the best horse. His backstory for the horse is even greater. He's named after a young girl called Charlotte McLeod, who in 2001 unfortunately lost her life aged 9 through cancer, who her mother Hayley is part of that Dines clan. So some harness racing people will remember John Morrison winning a race with young Charlotte's signature on the inside of the peak of his helmet that he showed after she passed away. So Tac McLeod's actually named after Charlotte. And what a fitting horse he's turned out to be for her honour, and now booked himself a spot in the New Zealand Trotting Cup, which is simply awesome. If you'd asked even Trevor, and I did on the Friday before the races, whether he thought he'd make his way to the Cup, he just didn't think he was going to get there. But of course, he's come out and won and grabbed himself a spot. And similar Greg Manson. Greg was a trainer that I knew of when I was younger. He's always been a good strike rate trainer, and he's made a bit of a comeback. And he's got a couple of nice horses around him. And Franco Merrick is obviously a very, very good horse. He's booked his way into the Cup. And I can actually remember Franco Merrick as a 2-year-old running 5th in their Sapling Stakes at Ashburton. My father actually drove him for his previous trainer, a guy called Don Jones, who unfortunately passed away. So just shows that, there are no limitations or boundaries on what it takes to have a good horse. You can have one if you've got one horse in your stable, or you can have one if you've got 100, and Franco Merrick and Tech McLeod, obviously both driven by John Morrison in the majority of their racing. And John made the decision to stick with Franco Merrick, thinking that he would be the horse that would most likely to qualify for the Cup. And, of course, they both got there now. So I know he was just as happy for the Proctor and the Dynes team and everyone behind Tech McLeod as he was for running second in that race on Friday night.
Johnny Morrison is one of the great blokes of harness racing. I know you do work for him, so we will put that out there. It is unsolicited, though. He is so much fun, and I think he relishes every person winning a race. I don't think he begrudges anyone winning a race, so I'd imagine it's just running second. Amazing. Trevor's trained 38 winners. Greg Manson's trained 22, and they've both got runners in the biggest race in New Zealand. Hats off to them both, and hopefully they enjoy the ride, whether Trevor does continue to train it or not. That won't matter. He's still got a great ride ahead of him, that's for sure, as an owner and a person part of this whole journey. So it's just great stories.
It is, and the stories don't end there either for me. They are two horses that, if they were to ping and land trips 3 fence, could run top 4 in a New Zealand Trotting Cup with the right run. I've got no doubt about it. They're both great stayers and both have good speed at the end of staying races. So, I don't think they're the sort of horses that can be looping around in 3 wide and sitting parked outside Leap to Fame or something like that and holding on. But with everything falling into place for them, there's no reason why they couldn't be the American Mees and the Mosdale Bens of 12 months ago and filling one of those spots in the Cup.
Yeah, at least your race was run at a genuine speed as well. Unfortunately, we had the Kilmore Cup here on the Friday night, and I get so many people turn around saying, the Kilmore Cup's not what it used to be and all the rest, but it's not the Kilmore, it's not the Cup or anything along those lines. It's unfortunately just the tactics at play. We ran a 62 middle half in that race.
We're pretty used to some of those sectionals over here too, to be fair, but I think that's what makes the Canterbury Classic a great race, because the top 3 guarantee themselves a spot in the Cup. So, everyone's out there to run top 3 and take the pressure off with the ranking systems and grab themselves a spot. So it makes for good competitive and, eager racing, I guess.
From the Trotting Cup point of view, Better Eclipse was outstanding, I think, racing against his pattern, sitting in the death over that triple bet. They went slow, but he fought on terrific for Greg and Jess, and he's definitely coming across with Just Believe. So, he was actually good as well. You said there before, too, Alta Wise guy, he qualifies as well. So the top 3 automatically get through.
Alta Meteor.
Meteor, sorry. Yeah.
So the top 3 are guaranteed. They'll move to near the top of the rankings, which are released again Wednesday morning through Addington and HRNZ. And there'll be a little bit of shuffling around. We'll see some horses drop out of the top 15, which means they've got work to do. BD Joe is one of those horses. He will drop out of the top 15. And the pressure goes on horses like American Me, who probably haven't been quite as sharp as what you would hope, as the Cup path heads to the Spring Cup at Alexandra Park on Friday night, where we see Merlin and Sooner the Better, and then the Methven Cup on Sunday.
We might touch on those towards the end, but that is actually pretty interesting. That's where these races really stand themselves. And pretty sure it was American Me last year that actually won that Cup. I was right, had the right horse. I wasn't sure if I had the right horse or not, but Sarah O'Reilly. Just quickly on her, Matty, where is Sarah's at? Do you know?
I believe she's got her next appointment on the 10th of October, and that's to find out whether they can take the arm out of the cast and the sling that it's in. The biggest problem in her rehabilitation, from what I can understand from talking to Sarah, is that when she broke her arm, and for anyone that hasn't caught up with this story, Sarah actually split her arm, the top half of her arm, in half in a training accident. What actually happened was there was nerve damage there, and that seems to be what's causing the majority of the problems in the rehabilitation process. So they're quite keen to try and get that cast and sling off and get her into physio and try and start building some strength back and get that nerve damage corrected. and back on track. But look, at this stage, it's unlikely. It would take a minor miracle for her to be driving come Cup Week. I would imagine that a more realistic timeframe's probably once we get towards the Christmas racing, because it's not an injury that you want to rush back with and end up causing yourself more damage. Upper arms, obviously, a big part when horses get up on the nickel. And if you've ever driven a horse, you know exactly what that's like and what it can do. So, you know, you need as much strength in those arms as you can possibly get. So she's healing well. Look, she's in great spirits. She does her little stable tours around Ashburton and pops in and makes sure everyone's behaving themselves and checks in. And she's at most race meetings and trials, of course, with her dad, Jared, as well. So she is, as I say, in good spirits, and she's just itching to get back on track, I think.
I think the sport's better for her in it. She's got such a great personality. But I agree with you. Give it time, says, make sure everything's right. You're in this game for a long time, and we want her around, so make sure it heals properly and takes the time. While we're talking Addington Cup and the likes of the Dominion, did you happen to watch the Kilmore Trotters Cup? Did you watch Call Me the Breeze and RC Phoenix and those horses go at it?
I caught the replay from the top of the straight. I haven't sat down and watched it. It usually is my Wednesday job to go through tapes from the weeks been and gone on both sides of the Tasman, so I haven't quite got to that point yet, but good to see Call Me the Breeze in form, and he looks strong.
Matty, I'll just throw it over the top. I've actually got it. I've just got to, and I've killed the audio. So this is it here. The arrow actually points to RC Phoenix and Call Me the Breeze, and they came off the 30-metre handicap. And they both begun like rockets. I'm not sure if you can see it, but the horse Hatchback off the front, he's a proven Cups horse over here. He's not good enough to go across for a Dominion handicap, but a standing start, he's terrific. I then skipped it to the last 400 because I'm not allowed to show the whole lot of Australian harness racing, unfortunately. But this horse was just outstanding, solid quarters, unlike our pacing race, than that. It was just solid quarters the whole way. And he was just brilliant here, running away from some very, very nice horses. RC Phoenix is not coming to the Dominion handicap. 1 overall there in 4th, and Parisian Artiste, he's not coming either. I think 1 overall is coming, but Parisian Artiste is a nice horse. But this horse was just so dominant and really does add a fair bit of intrigue now into that race because it's got a fair bit of interest about it.
It does, and probably the most pleasing aspect from that was the way that they got away from that standing start, because that is obviously such a big part of coming over here.
Yeah, his first stand ever.
And someone asked me the other day if I had any hesitation, and I'll revert back to the paces for a minute, and around Leap to Fame. And I know he stepped away and done it well, but a 15-horse field, which can often be a bit messy over the back straight there at Addington, is a completely different ballgame to what I've seen him step away in. And I'm not saying for a minute that he's not going to handle it, but that is, to me, the question mark. And it is often the question mark for Australian horses when they do come over. And I think of horses that we've seen in the past. Caribbean Blast struggled, excuse me, with it. Suave Joey Lombo struggled when he came over with Shane and Lauren. You know, it's something that they've got to adapt to. And I've always been of the belief that, you know, these horses that are coming over need to have had experience with our standing starts and the way that they are operated. Drivers in New Zealand know how they're going to work. They are out there. They do 7 standing start races a meeting sometimes. They know what the starters, you know, telltale signs are. And I think the more you can get that under your belt, the better. Obviously, no issues with either Greg or Jess's too, and Just Believe or Better Eclipse, because they both handled it in Road Cups and Auckland Cups, obviously. So, but it is the one big question mark. So to see those trotters getting away like Call Me the Breeze and that and doing it well, obviously builds the confidence level should they come and be a part of the second Tuesday in November.
We have a bad habit over here of having walk-up starts, which I think bugger horses from a standing start. I think we need to get standing start pacing races back in Victoria badly. We've got a massive downturn in our TAB turnover. We were told get rid of the stands and that'll improve. It's actually gone worse. So I think we need to get them back from a betting point of view with races like the Kilmore Cups and those. But one of the big issues we have is a lot of walk-up starts and horses progressing. I can tell you, go back and watch a replay off the trots.com. That was messy. Kianguchi, which was the horse that the Lees and Cravens, and he was outstanding running in that. It wasn't Kianguchi, it was Kianchucky. He was outstanding, but he missed it. But he was naughty. So they actually all were walking up, and then they had to stop and pause and sort of went again and then stopped and paused. It wasn't it wasn't like both those horses hit that at half speed. They actually had stopped and did go away. And I think that's, even Andy said that afterwards. It wasn't a make-believe stepping away, if you like, that a couple of the paces a few years ago got to do. They had a one-horse trial to go across there. So, that's the big difference.
Yeah, and some of them just do it naturally. I think the Kiwi breed horses that come back over are probably a bit better on it, because I know that 95% of Kiwi trainers, it's one of the first things they teach a horse is how to stand and step away. So it's a big part of racing over here, and when they're running 356 or quicker for Dominion handicaps and New Zealand trotting cups, you can't afford to be giving good horses 15, 20 metres, because you're either slow or you miss the start. So that's going to be a huge element building in towards the Cup, should, Larry be here, and all the signs point towards him being here. So it's going to be interesting to see that. You certainly wouldn't want to see him draw, say, the second line over 2 miles, that kind of thing. So, or to be fair, you probably wouldn't even want to see him draw 1 the way the barrier draws work, the way that the standing start works at Addington over 2 miles. So there's a lot of little things there that have got to all fall into place, and looking forward to seeing them unfold over the next, 6 weeks out from Cup Week.
Well, Larry goes around, Leap the Phone goes around at Melton on Saturday night in the Smoking Up, and then backs up the week after in the Victoria Cup. A lot of people might not be aware, but it's actually on in 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks' time. Not a lot of publicity getting out there about that, but that's hopefully that'll start to build and go from there. But the build-up's just going to be outstanding, and these trotters are outstanding. Did notice something, Matty, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but a certain scribe put a post up the other day that there are 6 of the top 15 horses entered for the New Zealand, the Dominion, Australian. And it was quite creative the way they went about a few of that. One overall was actually outside of that. He had an AUS next to his name. Gus had an AUS next to his name. Call Me the Breeze. He was classed as an Australian, but he's French. Or Italian, if you like, either way you want to go about it. There was only actually 3 Australian horses in that top lot. One of those has gone amiss now. That's not gone amiss, but he's not going as RC Phoenix. So it is Just Believe, and I'm trying to think of the other one. I'm Ready Jet was the other horse, and she's not coming either. So there'll only be Just Believe will be the only pure Australian bred horse that will be heading back there. But it was quite creative the way they got about it.
Yeah, well, you Australians are known for claiming things that ain't your own. Farlap, Pavlova, split ends, or whatever it is. Crowded House. No, it might be Crowded House. Trot-wise, I thought we'd probably get a few more, but I guess given the domination of Just Believe, that's probably put a bit of a dampener on it for some. But I sort of thought some of these other stables that were coming over might be bringing, 1 or 2 others over with them for like Greg and Jess have. They're obviously looking at potentially bringing 3 if 1 overall comes as well. And I know that Grant was actively looking for an open class trotter within New Zealand to add to his race team. So, yeah, there's plenty out there. So, it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds in that trotting ranks. We saw Muscle Mountain at the trials last week. From a New Zealand point of view, Oscar Bonavita lines up for the first time this week at Addington. Beaten wins at the trials on Wednesday. He wasn't against 2 other trotters. He's now in against Don't Stop Dreaming and Chase a Dream. So David and Stacey have obviously decided they want to get a good run under the belt because they've gone in with the paces. So the Canterbury Park Trotting Cup, which is Friday week, will be the first time we have all the heavy hitters in one place. And looking forward to that.
It would be interesting, off what you just said then too, Kiang Chucky, the horse I said there that ran 5th, go back and watch a replay of that. He was pretty cool because he missed a start. That's one thing he can't afford to do in a Dominion, but it was a pretty amazing run. He was only beaten about 2 lengths, 3 lengths behind them. So because with the Ascent, getting the invite, Kiang Zara, whether they actually take that horse as well, you never know. Might be able to. I don't know if there's a late payment for the Dominion. If there's ways they can get into it, but it'd be nice to have that a bit more intrigue, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Anything that's going to lift the profile of the race and the meeting as a whole and harness racing in general should be more than welcomed. And I think we're going to get that, particularly if we get these 2 big Australian big guns in Leap to Fame and Just Believe, which is looking more and more likely, as I say. Then we can sort of play off that that Trans-Tasman rivalry a wee bit, and coming and doing it on our shores as opposed to us coming over and doing it on yours, that sort of thing, which I think is really exciting. So, there's a lot to be written about, spoken about, and pondered over in the next 6 weeks before we even get there.
Yep, the velocity and the ascent, they're starting to take shape. As I said, Kiang Sahara, Super and New Zealanders, you're going to see a very, very exciting horse. Can she beat Empire City? I don't know. But I tell you what, there's going to be a hell of a lot of intrigue around it. She is something very, very special, this filly that is coming. She trotted 56-2 the other night, winning. Don't worry that it was only one heat and everything else, not that. She is a serious horse. She won the New South Wales Derby and Oaks up there. She was sensational winning the Vicbred here. She went 56-8 winning the Vicbred by 13 metres on that occasion. Ken Brecken and Richard Cole have snapped her up very, very quickly, and that's going to make a lot of chatter, I reckon, going into this race. And I believe the first time they're going to meet will be in the Ascent. So that's going to make it, really, really cool race going forward.
Yeah, well, it does, and it adds to other races as well. Obviously, the Oaks is an opportunity as well, and the New Zealand Trotting Derby too. Now, obviously, Empire City is probably the most well-known of our 3-year-old trotters, but the horse she has to beat, and I mean this with 100% certainty, is a horse named Tyrone Eros. He would be the most naturally gifted 3-year-old trotter I've seen in New Zealand for a long time. His win at Addington 2 weeks ago was sensational. He's come 5-6 wide, broken the New Zealand record, I think, off the top of my head. I'm just trying to rack my brain to remember whether I heard that correctly or not, and just literally blasted over the top of them. He has got untapped speed, but his problem is that his brain's only about 2 millimeters big. And it doesn't quite correlate to his legs and getting them going in the right places, but he's trained by Robert and Jenna Dunn out on the beach there with Johnny Dunn, so he's going to get every opportunity to develop into a good racehorse. And I mean, he could be anything, that horse, on what I saw a couple of weeks ago. He is a very, very serious horse. But we've got depth in our 3-year-old trotting ranks as well. Horses like Pantani up north has been sensational. Paramount Kiwi's done a great job as well, So the race for those remaining spots in the Ascent's going to be really interesting, and it's kind of taking most of the conversation at the moment over the velocity, which is interesting.
It is indeed. Bolt for the Hill, another 3-year-old that won the other night from the Mobile. His form gets a little bit patchy, but geez, he was good from the Mobile the other night. Is he good enough to take on those horses? I don't know, but is he good enough to fill a spot? He probably is.
There's him, and then Addington last week, a horse called A Fine Patrick.
Yes.
Who just absolutely smoked them for Craig and Amy Edmonds. He's a pretty serious horse. So, there's a bit of depth here. And, this filly that's coming over from your side of the Tasman is undoubtedly very, very good. But she's going to have to be every bit as good, if not better, given she's got to travel and adapt to a new country and a new racing style than what she has been so far.
That's what's so great about it, though.
Yeah.
Then this is where it is so cool. So we've got Call Me the Breeze and Just Believe, 2 of the best trotters we're coming over here to take on 3 of your best. A couple of established stars, a couple of up-and-coming stars, plus a heap of other horses are going to get there. We've got Larry, Leap to Fame, who is as good a horse as I've seen race in the flesh for a long, long time. I have seen Lazarus, so I'm not going to say he was better or not, but he is something outstanding as well coming across there. So there's this intrigue that always happens. Then all of a sudden on the Friday, you're going to go there. We've got one horse, as you said, the Velocity's got one horse for it so far. Cold Chisel's the only horse but I'm sure that is going to change shape over the next 2 to 3 weeks. There's going to be a lot of tuning and throwing going in there as well.
Oh, massive. We've got some of these 3-year-olds starting to step back out again now, We saw horses like, and I'm just trying to run through the result from Friday night, Harrison John, who was sensational on Friday night. Dreams Are Free kicks off his new campaign at Wyndham on Friday for Nathan Williamson. So they are coming. We're just not quite getting those conversations happening early like we have with the trotters.
That race on Friday night, that Harrison John race, there was a few others. We Walk by Faith was great.
Yep, he was great for his up.
And I'm trying to think of the other one. I'll cheat. I'm trying to get it up on the
Renegade.
Yeah. It's probably one that you don't want to talk too much about because he just had Back Me Next Start written all over him. And Ricky was just in one of them horrible spots. And I don't think Ricky expected to get out. And when he did all but get out, he was brutal finding the line, wasn't he?
Oh, if he got clear at the top of the straight, he wins that by 2 or 3 lengths going away. Easy.
Yeah.
He was a very good horse last year leading into Cup Week. He managed to make his way into the Size Stakes final. I think he drew either 9 or 14 in that final and was effectively out of play, but they always knew that he was going to be a better horse come his 3-year-old year, and he has come back in sensational order, and he deserves to be involved in conversations around some of these big races we've got coming up, like the Derby and the Velocity and any other 3-year-old race that you can throw at him.
Yeah, it's so much intrigue, and there's so many, as you said, there's going to be one that will come from nowhere. There'll be a horse that'll come from nowhere. Mark Burden might have it. Mark and Nathan, they might have it. You wouldn't know. You got 15 horses coming down from Scotty Phelan and Barry Purdon that we may not have. People might not be able to line up. You never know. Someone else might be looking at a couple of the Australian horses. There could be a 3-year-old that might make its way back over there as well, because there's so many horses going. It's going to be easy to get them across there too. That's the other part.
Yeah, exactly. You've even got a horse like Major Hop who won the Queensland Derby.
Yeah.
He's got Kiwi connections still, and they may have a slot themselves that they might want to put him into. So you've got those sort of things that you've got to bring into consideration as well.
So much fun. We haven't even discussed the results of last week. I don't know how long we've been going for, but that doesn't matter. That's what we do. We don't have a time restraint as much, although you might have. You might turn around and say, "Oh, I have to go soon." But back to right, we'll try and tick off a lot of what we can do. Habibti Pat was one also I wanted to discuss with you. 2-year-old filly, outstanding the other day. Blair Orange and the Hopes, Greg and Nina. That was a pretty impressive performance on Friday night.
Oh, very, very impressive. She is exceptionally good. There is no doubt about that. And we're actually having this conversation with some people over the weekend that her family line is potentially becoming one of the strongest in New Zealand trotting.
Yeah.
So to go back, she's out of Habibti Ivy, who may or may not have won an Oaks. I'm just trying to bring her name up, or a major 2-year-old fillies trotting race. She was very, very good. Sorry, Habibti Ivy won a Banks Peninsula Trotting Cup, so she was a Group 1 winner, so very good. But she actually traces back to a mare called 10 to 1, who is the mother of another Group 1 winner in Habibti, who, of course, was with Davey and Kath Butt. So the family line, Habibi Inter, who was a Dominion winner, is part of that family as well. So it's actually developing into this just mecca of very, very good trotters. If I go through, 10 to 1's progeny included Habibti, who won 16 and 350,000. Lothario was a very good trotter. He won 6. Habibti Ivy won 9 of 21. And Habibi Inter won 11 of 42 and close to 400,000 in stakes. And then you go through their family lines as well, and most of them are the mares of left winners. Habibti's been a decent broodmare, so definitely developing into one of the better trotting families we have got here in New Zealand at the moment. And this one could be the best of them all. Habibti, just to go back, because I just waited for it to load, her last 2 foals to the races have been Resolve, who I believe has been retired and now gone to stud. She won 11 from 47. The other one's Confessional of Paul Niens, who's been running around in the Dominion lead-up races and looks every bit an open class horse in the next 12 months' time.
He won one of the feature races 2 years ago. I reckon he won the 2-year-old 2 years ago at Addington first up. So, yeah.
Yeah,
very well known, being by Father Patrick too. One of the better named horses. You don't forget his breeding when you know his name. There's a little twist in that. That's for sure. There's some nice horses behind too. Atlantic City, of course, Empire City's half sister. She was terrific. Peter and Jeanette. They got a nice little band of mares coming from their point of view. And Queen Kazan. I'm sure Tony Barron and the team would have been wrapped with that horse the way she found the line. A little bit more of a, I suppose, promise of the breeding, if you like. I don't think she's shown much. That's as good a run as I've seen her show on the racetrack.
Her first 2 wins were very, very good. She was just a bit more natural than the rest of them when she won early on. That's her best run this time, and by far. She actually attacked the line, which she hadn't done. So she's trending back upwards. And there's a few question marks around a couple of them. You're right, Dale was probably just a little bit just I won't say disappointing, but underperformed just a little bit. But we've got a nice wee crop of 2-year-old trotters. There's one running around up in the north that's unbeaten called Egypt which loosely translates to "you idiot you."
And just
who's got a lot of
a Nazi on breeding. Like actually, it is one of the greatest named horses going around because people will probably think, they've been a bit cheeky. But do you know the mare that it's out of? One Night Stand.
Yeah.
You idiot! Yeah, you just have to have a little think about that one, and I think it's one of the smarter named horses going around. It's a cracker.
Yeah, very, very sharp. Obviously 2 from 2 as well, so there's a motor there. We're going to hear a lot more about it, which is good.
And there's also Barry Purdon's horses, Barry and Scotty's horses up there that Ken Brecken and I spoke to him about them both last night. They've both got immense ability, bred by Brecken Farms. They're naughty boys. If they ever decide to be on their best behaviour, they might be serious players. They're good horses already, but they could be meant to be. And I forgot the other horse's name, but
Higher Power is the other horse's name.
And according to Ken, he's a better horse.
Meant to Be's untapped. He could be a very good horse. But yeah, he's got a brain about the same size as Tyrone Eros and Higher Power, who I thought was the most reliable of the two. And obviously galloped on Friday night too. So yeah, they've no doubting their ability. I believe one, if not 2 of them, are on the plane down to Canterbury this week.
Yep.
Yeah, so that'll add some depth to those trotting races we've got coming up as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll get on to the rest there. Demon Blue was outstanding. Another, just awesome performance. I thought he was a nice horse. He's a serious horse, isn't he?
There's a bit of a lesson there for punters and harness racing followers. Do not leave out a Mark Nathan Purdon trained runner with Blair Orange driving. $7.50 and it streaks them and wins by 7.5 lengths and just monstered them. Good horse run second, Irish Dream for Bruce Negus. It is a good horse. So yeah, just not sure how this 2-year-old crop that we've got here at the moment is going to play out. There's another race this week, obviously a size stakes race, and we see a few more added to the mix. So it's going to be interesting. Ribera is obviously back. He was very good winning at Oamaru during the middle of September. Gone Surfing's back, who of course won the Sapling Stakes or the Helen Pope at Ashburton. So yeah, a bit of depth around. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that and who sort of takes control of it.
And there's quite a few horses from the North Island coming down as well. We spoke there before about Scotty Phelan and the Perns, but also Telfers are bringing quite a few down as well. I noticed I think it's on Thursday night, and I'll touch on that in a minute. But it's either Thursday night or Friday. Anyway, they've got Thursday, quite a strong contingent of 2-year-olds going around. Harrison John, we touched on. Habibki Pat, we touched on. Wagstar, if you don't mind, umpire, what a return. Did you, he's always been a nice horse, but did you see this coming?
Not in that manner. I thought he'd win because he is a very good horse, but not by 15 lengths under a grip, just charging through the bridle. He could not have been any more impressive and just signalled. And it's an interesting one. And you'll hear Craig Ferguson talk about him and go, he can be like that fresh up when we put the blinds on him. And then you'll come back to them slowly. But, you'd just be spacing his races every 3 weeks if he's going to come out and do that, wouldn't you? And look, it's not like he was beating up nothings. Jimmy James Maguire's won the $50,000 Kaikoura age sales race last year. Mighty Louis, did he win a Methven Cup? I think he did. No, he didn't. That was a stablemate. Ignore me.
Did Mighty Louis not win the standing start race the year before?
He won the Country Cups Championships, the race that I was thinking of. Yeah,
Corbin driving. So yeah.
So I mean, he's beating some nice horses, and he's just absolutely streeted them. With whether he can bring that form to Cup lead-up races, because I believe they're going to allow him to have a crack. We may see him at a race like the Ashburton Flying Stakes, potentially Kaikoura. And if he found the front round Kaikoura the way that he corners and the way that he runs, you've got to be handy to the speed at Kaikoura. He'd be awfully, awfully hard to beat.
You're a good judge of horses. Your thoughts, for mine, looking at him, he looks like he's grown up a little bit. The only problem is all I see is roughly a 2-minute lead in over here on Sky Active, and then watched him race, and it was breathtaking to watch him race. But He probably always just a little bit of a young lad, if you like. To me, he looked a little bit more professional. I'm not sure if that's what you saw.
Yeah, he did. And the times were indicative of a horse that is going to win a lot more races. I think he's a lead time in 26, and then he's run his last mile in 154 or something like that.
Yep.
56.3 home. Look, at the end of his last campaign, probably to put him into context with the cup horses we've got running around, I had him at about the same mark as Ultimate or Franco Merrick, Tack McLeod.
Wow.
So there you go. They have come back better, and he has clearly come back better. So he firmly joins the conversation as part of this chasing pack of horses behind Merlin and Don't Stop Dreaming and the established open class horses. So does that mean he's going to get a start in the Cup this year? Maybe not. I don't think they're that worried about it. They can go back down home in December and chase a Group 1 at all, Invercargill, called the Invercargill Cup, which could actually end up early doors being one of the races of the season, judging by the amount of horses that are talking about going down there for it. And then be a Cup horse next year with a bit more of that experience and racing at the top level under his belt.
He'd probably get in the free-for-all, though, on the Friday.
Yeah, he probably would.
And that could
probably
be a nice little race for him to stamp himself for people to be able to sit up and see.
Well, they've got the junior free-for-all on Cup Day, obviously, for that next wave down of horses that don't make the Cup or are the ones that are coming through. And traditionally, the winner of that race sort of earns themselves a spot in the New Zealand free-for-all on the Friday. So if they wanted to go down that path, I don't know whether they would, given he seems to race at his best when he's fresh, whether a 3-day backup would be workable for him. I'm not sure, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. The Southerners, they were flying. Kirsten Green, Fiery Bandito. They do an awesome job, the Southerners on the South Island. I think we probably undersell it quite a bit, but they really had a good night last Friday night, that's for sure.
They did, and I think Kirsten's probably still holding on to her breath with that trotter because it got a little bit hairy a couple of times up the straight, but she did well to keep him down trotting. This is another good family, the Fiery Filly. It's been a breed that's left a lot. And a big moment for Tom Kilkelly, who obviously owns it. It was his 200th owning win. Tom's put a lot into racing through his business down in the Southland now. I hope I get this right. I think it's the Regent Car Corp, who sponsor a lot of harness racing down in the deep south. He's had a lot of nice horses over the years. You May Collect was a horse about 5-6 years ago who could have been anything. Unfortunately, he had a couple of issues, but this one, obviously a half to Smoking Banda, who was retired not all that long ago. He's definitely got the family ability, and when he really learns how to be a trotter, he's going to be a pretty serious horse.
Yeah, that other horse you just named, just Smoking Banda, was a little bit the same too. You never cashed your ticket until he went past that line. He was always that little bit funny as well. So it was good and good to see. And I love seeing these winners coming from everywhere on what is a great night. The last 3 races, I'll leave that to you to discuss. I'll be honest, I didn't see too much from any of these. Heelan, I've just got to make sure I go on back. So that was Tack McLeod. So it might only be the last 2 races, actually. No, Heelan.
There's 11.
Princess. How do you say that word? Merititane. Is that what I go with?
Princess Meritaten.
Meritaten for Bobby Butt.
And I tell you what, Paul, you'll be hearing that name a lot more because she is firmly probably in the top 3 or 4 mares in the country. She is very, very good. That fresh up win was sensational from her. I know Bob's got a pretty big opinion of her. She trialled unbelievably well leading into it, and she got a nice run through from the second line, but she won with a bit of authority, and she's going to be a force to be reckoned with in all of our mares races going forward. 9
starts, 5 wins. I apologise, didn't do enough homework. I can get caught out on that. There is no problems there. So, okay, one for the Aussies.
Fun fact about her, Paul, she races in a very famous set of colours. Same colours that were carried to victory in Miracle Miles and New Zealand Trotting Cups by Christian Cullen. She is owned by Brian O'Meara, who trained Christian Cullen.
Wow. There's one for you. That is a good one. So will she be racing Cup Week?
There is a mares race on show day, I believe. I think in the last couple of years we've seen the likes of Darling Me and other good mares win it. So I presume she'll head towards that one. I think it's a $50,000 odd race, so she'll be there. And she has come back as a very, very serious race mare.
And then Qatari Kelso.
Yeah, he dropped out of the Harness 7000 from a couple of weeks ago that was won by Bronson, and he looked a bit of a special on Friday night, and I know a few people were very keen on him, including myself, and he found the front and ran away and hit. He steps back into the 3-year-old grade this week, so it'll be interesting to see him up against his own age group, but he's got a pretty good motor, that horse, for Ross Houghton. Yeah.
Yep, no, very good. We'll go to Auckland. We're not going to go over all the results as we tend to do, because we technically got to go back a long few weeks, but I am going to start with the first one. I didn't see this race, but I gather Dave McGowan struck a blow for all the punters early on in the night. What did he pay? It was only $30. It wasn't that bad, but the way you guys were carrying on trackside, it must have been like a dagger to everyone's heart.
Well, it probably was, because most of them were all involved in the horse that he just managed to sneak up the lane and beat. I think it held 90% of the money on the race, the two, Keep It Classy, and good old Dave slobbed the trail and snuck up the lane and won. Great man, Dave McGowan, and his wife Claire's a lovely lady as well. They've done a great job. Of course, the people behind Special Force, who so many people will remember. He is part of the glue that's holding trotting in the north together at the moment, along with the likes of Bernie and Michelle, and that they line a lot of horses up each week, and they pick up a winner here and there, but they've always got a nice trotter or three in their barn, and it's good to see Dave on the bike. Actually, I was struggling to remember seeing him drive a winner. I know there've been a few in the last 12 months, but he drove 4 winners last season, so I'm making out like it had been decades, but it wasn't. So no, I really enjoyed that. That was a great way to start the night.
He had a few health issues, in fairness to him, so his health must be getting back better. He had a little bit of, I don't think I'm talking out of turn, where he actually had to pull a car over and stop. So he just, nothing majorly untoward, he was telling me, but that put a dampener on him, and I think he might have been happy enough sitting on the sidelines. Although he's not, if you ever get a chance to go to the races, I've been a couple of times at Cambridge, he's not the greatest watcher of races. It's quite an eventful thing. I could have a phone ready for him one day, I reckon, because he gets quite animated halfway through a race. He is one of the characters of the industry, though.
Oh, yes. I remember him having a very good pacer that worked his way through the Cup class called Pure Power. He was a big horse, and he had a big motor. And I did happen to watch a few races with Dave of his, and they were inexperienced. Certainly a lot of nerves and a lot of comments made during the running, and what are you doing, and why are you doing this? And soul of the earth, great bloke. Love seeing him win races.
No, absolutely, and it's all. I mean that in all good jest, because he was great, but he was happy with the drive at the end of it. But just mid race, he just gets a bit worked up. That's for sure. Scooter B, Tony Hurley, very very good, lovely 2-year-old. Tony's got a nice team of horses, hasn't he, around him at the minute?
Yeah, he does. This one's thrown a bit of speed too. Thankfully, again for the bookmakers, that he got up and beat Waltzing with Mickey, because it was $21 into threes, I think. So we were copping a hiding if it had won, and luckily for the book, Scooter B got over the top of it. Nice horse, just what you'd expect from Tony Hurley, really. Well schooled and a bit of speed there.
Bolt for the Hill, we touched on him briefly there before, but back to the mobiles, definitely suited him. He's a bit of an enigma. He can be a little bit of a head scratcher from time to time. He does have a lot of ability. He's actually called Bolt for the Hill because that's what he used to do. So I think he's a work in progress, but Steph's done a great job, Steph Burley and John Dickey, with this horse, and hopefully they can keep him tracking on the right track.
Yeah, his issues lately have been the standing starts, and he's just getting out of his ground early, and they're running so quick up front that he was finding it impossible to try and make ground. So Drew won in a mobile on Friday night over a sprint trip. I thought he was an absolute moral, and he punched to the lead and left him for dead, really. It was a pretty impressive performance, and sort of showed that when he's on song and he's up on the speed and competing, he's a pretty serious racehorse.
Friday Night Lights, I was listening to you in the lead up to that race because he was 4th favourite, I think, on that occasion. It says he was second, but I think the way you were talking, I knew you were keen on that horse, but you weren't saying, hey, punters, don't forget this horse. You're just saying, Bolt for the Hill. Barrier 1, he's got a good chance. You were being professional, but you weren't stamping your foot, that's for sure.
I don't know. I was just saying what I thought needed to be said leading into the race and trying to lure them into one without luring them into one.
Meant to be, we spoke on those two horses. He was terrific. Wicked Wonder for Graham Rogerson. It's a lovely mare. It's owned by the Woodlands Group, actually. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Woodland Syndicate number 3. She keeps getting the job done. Hoorah Henry for David Butcher.
Yeah, he's a nice horse. He's done a good job. Son of Auckland Reactor. Tough. He actually, off the top of my head, about this time last year, beat Copy That.
Yeah.
In a lead-up race to the New Zealand Trotting Cup. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's been around for a while, and he's been in a few dog fights, and he's come out on top in a fair few of them. And he got another one on Friday night, and he deserved it too because he's there each week and he's lining up and he's doing a good job for David and the owners that are behind him.
Super exciting filly, Duchess Megxit. I know it was only a small field, and she won comfortably, 54-4, 53-8 last half, 26-8. She's a super exciting filly, this filly. She's making her way down south, and she can only add to racing no matter where she goes. It doesn't matter where they decide to race her. She's just going to be an excitement machine, full stop.
Just beast mode on Friday night, she was. Obviously, it gets a little bit tougher when she gets down here because she's got the likes of Ruby Rowe, All You Need Is Me, lining up, ready to try and topple her, as well as some other very good fillies too. So she is the benchmark at the moment for 3-year-old pacing fillies. Treacherous Love was the other one that I was trying. Treacherous Baby was the other one I was trying to think of. But yeah, she is the benchmark.
Owned by Tom Patterson and the Patterson brothers. I stay at the Commodore. Almost forgot what I say, but not just that. Tom, he's terrific. He shares and likes a lot of the stuff I put out, so I always appreciate that sort of stuff that people do to help grow my programs and things along those lines. Invisible, did not see this race, haven't seen a result of this. A 4-year-old boy, Always Be Mickey.
Yeah, and he deserved a winning turn. He'd been a bit unlucky in a couple of runs back from a spell. Patient drive by Zach Butcher. He was pretty much everyone's bet of the night up there at Auckland. Early on because he opened up over $2 or something like that. So they all got involved, and he duly delivered to continue this run of Barry Purdon and Scott Phelan and Zach Butcher.
Belniche, Yabby Farms got one winner up there. They've sent quite a few horses up there. They've been threatening to win, but they've finally got one across the line for a start, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. They haven't had a lot of luck with some of them. Val Thorens, I think, might have had a gallop, or Val Thorine.
Yeah.
Breeders' Crown winner. Might have had a gallop earlier in the night. But Queen of Quebec's another one that's been running around. But this one with a bit of authority. And I know they were confident of a good run, and they got that. There was obviously a lot of confidence floating around because someone had a $3,000 lick on a trotter at Alexandra Park on a Friday night. And I would have to have lost my brain to be doing something like that. But they did, and they got the money. So well done to them.
That other horse, Val Thorens, when these slot races came out, I said to Nathan I would pat buy one, and he was one of those horses I thought might be thinking about with those sorts of races. He said he's not mature enough. He said he's a good horse, but he's not mature enough, and that's one of those things. He'd be one of those horses probably needs 3 or 4 runs to work everything out before the penny drops a bit with him. So he is a little bit of an enigma, that horse. But I always thought he was very professional watching him. But then you talk to Nathan and he says no. So he's a great judge that way, I will say, and Jack. And then Messenger Boyo, I'll go with for Nikki Chilcott. Great to see Nick winning races anywhere. She's always up and about, but she didn't drive this one, the junior drivers race. No, it wasn't.
Messenger Boy.
Is that what you're saying?
The boys that float in the water.
Rightio. I'll pay that.
Yeah.
It's by Sunshine Beach, actually. Yeah, very good. Okay.
Yeah. And nice for Nikki stable driver Leah Hibble, who's doing a good job. She's picking up a few winners here and there, and nice to see her get one under the ribbon of light, as they call it at Alexandra Park.
Why do they call it that? Thank you.
I don't know.
It's always been one of those things. I'm like, where does it come from?
I presume it's to do with the lights, and they look like ribbons coming down on the track when they used to be the bulbs, but I don't know. Why did they call Forbury the Meadowlands of the South? I
never heard that one either, so I didn't know that one. Timaru, we could go through all of those on the card, but was there anything at all that stuck out for you from Timaru?
Ricky May driving 3 winners.
Yep.
he drove 10 winners during September, which is probably the most winners in a month Ricky's driven for a long time. He's driving red hot. 2 of them were for the great man from Rakaia, Warren Stapleton of Cedar Fella and that fame. And 2 horses, funnily enough, this is what actually stuck out to me about Warren's 2 winners. So Fun to Come was a maiden that Ricky drove for him that won earlier in the day. It's owned by Chrissy Dalgety, along with Warren and Dean Stapleton. The second horse that won is a very good horse called Wild Willow, who's out of Group 1 winning mare Willow, who incidentally had 2 winners on the day because Sweet Willow won earlier in the day for Michael House. Wild Willow comes out and wins the second last. He's owned by Mr. Crichton, Mrs. Crichton, the Cummings, the Grangers, and Greg Hope. So the 2 winners are actually owned by trainers with licenses. Now, Warren is a master when it comes to horses with leg problems, and that's how he's ended up with both of these horses. He is, as I say, a bit of a master when it comes to creating leg paints and the like for them. And that's how he ends up with them. So he's picked up Wild Willow, who would have been a massive figure purchase price as a yearling. And it's now won 3 of 5. The first one for Warren, obviously, but was first up since 24th of April 2023 without a workout or a trial.
Wow. How many does he train?
Oh, there's a heap there probably at the moment. He's got the likes of Leicester, quite a few.
Yeah.
I would say somewhere in the vicinity of probably 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So Ricky driving 3, John Morrison got 2. There are a couple of good performances throughout the day, a couple of long price winners, big long price winners, I mean, too. Munro's Mate was a good winner because it backed up from Addington on Friday night where it ran second to Timaru on Sunday and then lead from 9 and just held on. So, no, good Sunday of racing at the Far Lap Raceway.
All right. Hot off the press, Summit Bloodstock have just paid $210,000 for a down by the seaside at the Lexington sales today. So there's one for our Australasian investors. I think $925,000 for a Walner filly was the sale topper that I've seen so far. So get your head around that one. $925,000 for a trotting filly. It wouldn't happen down south. It doesn't matter, southern hemisphere. It doesn't matter if it's Australia or New Zealand. They're not going to pay that for a trotting filly, that's for sure.
No. But would you pay that much for a pacing mare like Millwood Nike if you were going to breed from her every year for the next 10 years?
Ken told me that the owners were very fair last night. He said it live on my show. He said they were very fair. Mind you, he had actually been in and had some medical procedures done yesterday as well. So you never know. He might have been still having the effects. I don't know. But he said they were extremely fair and brilliant to deal with.
Oh, I imagine they would have been. They are great people. I was more jesting about, imagine what her first foal, if it goes through the stales ring, is going to be worth.
Yep.
Which would make her what her residual value actually is.
Yeah, well, that's true too. So, no, I can't say that. So I was just actually looking at the results because the results are still here so Cambridge, of course, are racing now because of this time difference. We've had President Flytin. Flintin. See, that's Fly. Fly and Tin is what I'll go with. Flintin has got the first. Katie's Princess, Nikki Chilcott, and
Leah Hibble.
Yeah, they've had another one. So that one's by Raging Bull. Sunset.
Here's one for you, Paul. First 4 home in that race, the junior drivers race.
Yep.
First 4 home driven by female junior drivers. There you go.
Right, and Wilson Else comes in.
Leah Hibble, Kate Hopkins, Nisha Bale, Crystal Packett.
Yeah, and then the next race, Derek and Claire McGowan.
Yeah.
David and Claire. Sorry, I don't know where Sunset Hill. You start talking about people, they start winning races. That's ridiculous, isn't it? Hey.
Most people don't answer their phone when I ring them because if I'm talking about them, I'm usually bad luck for them. So. I could reel off a list of about a dozen trainers in New Zealand in both codes that will ignore my phone calls because if I write a story or something about their horses' chances on the weekend, they'll end up having a really bad day at the office.
Lachlan Mitchell, who he's one of the guys now working at HRV. He rang the guy who gates his gem, who's a beautiful trotting filly by I'm going to get into trouble. Aldebaran Eagle, who is available for you guys in New Zealand. She's a high class, unbeaten, brute of a horse when she won at Maryborough. They said, "Oh, we don't do these interviews. I'm superstitious. I get beat." He goes, "No, it won't happen." He said, "That doesn't happen." And the poor bloke, he needed somewhere to hide. And like, you won't mind me saying, he's massive. He is pushing 7 foot tall. He's a big man, and he was looking for the smallest corner you could find to hide in. He just felt so bad, only because Glenn Hunter said to him, "I've got a superstition. I don't do these sorts of things." And he's like, no, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. And unfortunately, the horse actually got beat. So poor old Lockie was beside himself.
Yeah, it can happen. I've done that probably more than once in my career as well. So it's never a nice feeling to feel like you're the person that's responsible, even though you know in the back of your mind that you've had absolutely nothing to do with it.
I remember when Gareth Hall was doing the drivers' interviews on the track. Kate Gaff, she'll walk her horses all day. She used to go past 3/4 speed. He's like, "Don't think I'm getting an interview there." She just hated it. Whenever she spoke to him, they'd get beat. So, yeah. So, but they get out the fixed hobble, get sharpeners or something like that. And the next minute, there's a microphone right there because he's like, "Well, I've only got one chance, so I'm going to take the most of it." So go for there. Okay. Explanation, please. The Met is racing on Thursday night this week.
Yeah. I don't know. No one told me. It wasn't until I looked up the fields and I went, "Oh, okay, Addington's on Thursday night this week." That takes a bit of getting the head around. Could not tell you what the reason for it is, unless there's a major rugby game on, which I don't think there is. So they've got a good card there. There's obviously Woodland Stud, really good 3-year-old races, a couple of really nice 2-year-old races as well. So looking forward to seeing what unfolds there. Particular watch probably on race 7, which is the size stakes 2-year-old heat. Obviously, some really good horses in there. We've talked about a few of them. Marketplace from the Regan Todd stable is a horse to watch.
Yeah.
It has unbelievable high speed. It takes on some nice ones like Tact Tiva from the Stonewall Stud team, who was very good at Oamaru. Got the Chocolates, Bar Louis down from the North Island, Irish Dreams in there, Ribera's in there. So that's probably the race of Thursday night for me.
Must be race 3 is the other one, the Dunstan size stakes for the 2-year-old fillies. It's got a hell of a lot of intrigue in it as well. The biggest thing for me is, what is there going to be? 13 horses going around, which is just, as an Aussie, just jealous of the size of those fields. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. And then there's a full field pretty much for the Neville fillies heat later on in the night too, which again is another really good race. You've got All You Need Is Me, Louis Girl, Treacherous Baby, Rakiro Ice, who's been really good, Shakira, who Woodland Stud have got themselves another nice filly. She was a very good winner last time out, so interested to see how she goes. So just a really good night of racing. Vesam goes around later in the night too. He steps up into the intermediate grade, and then of course we've got the trotters going around as well. Oscar Bonavina, Mr. Love, Kai Valley Hotspur, Mystic Max is back, so that's going to be an intriguing night on the couch for me.
You don't get to work Thursday nights?
No, it's called Friday Night Lights. It's not Thursday and Friday Night Lights.
This one is not going to be necessarily a popular opinion, but one thing that, as a person who observes racing, and I've changed the way I think about things a lot. Don't worry, Matty, you're painless in this one. I'll be probably the one that will get into trouble. But I think we need to look at our colours. Now, I understand the discussion that was put to me was, say, Stonewall. They've done their blue and white checks with the black sleeves. You sit on your hands. I can see you're like getting involved in this. There was a race recently at Auckland, Alexandra Park, and I think they had 5 in the race or 6 in the race. 4 of the drivers had white hats. 2 of them had red hats. It was impossible to tell who's who in the zoo. Now, I understand people will say, "Oh, yeah, but we know these horses and the locals know these horses and everything else like that." But you've got to realise the guy in Australia is trying to watch them. And I don't think I'm the only Australian person watching them. Betting turnover is up. Need to change the colours, because it stands out in those 2-year-old races there. When you start looking at the colours alongside of those horses, and there's another race that we'll talk about in a second, the Holmes DG, 4 and 5 horses from the same stables in the same colours. And I know I was told that, they're meant to have a hat on, different coloured hats on and that, but that doesn't come up in the field sizes either. Great way of marketing, get the stables to have different colours. get different colours out there and make your brand. Because as a person who tries to promote the industry, you try to follow every horse. You have to go back and watch 3 or 4 times because you're actually watching the wrong horse. And it is very, very frustrating. And this Holmes DG is in the same boat. Cold Chisel, Sooner the Better, Merlin and Max Shard, all in the exact same colours. Very, very frustrating.
Yeah, well, I can see where you're coming from. There's one simple answer to it.
Drivers' colours?
Drivers' colours.
Yep. And
but what I would say, and this might be slightly controversial and get me in trouble, is I would rather see 5 sets of colours that are like Stonewalls out on the track than 5 sets of some of the colours that we see in multiple races over on your side of the Tasman.
Yep. Don't disagree with that. Although most of them now are down to 2s, but I do agree. Yeah. I still think it's right across the board. But it was as in Jules.
I always look at it this way, Paul. I always look at Aaron White and Matthew Cross get paid really, really good money, and most of the time they know their horses and their form that well that they don't even have to worry about it. Yep. It's nice every now and then to throw a challenge at them and see whether they can sink or swim. That's how I look at it. And I would rather do it in a harness race than have the unfortunate pleasure of doing it at, I'll say, Riccarton, the 1,200-metre shoot at Riccarton Racecourse, when you've got 6 runners from one stable coming at you with the sun behind you, behind the horses, like Matt has to do sometimes. It's a little bit like drivers talking on the track, which is obviously a bit of a hot issue over here at the moment because they're looking to turf it. And I don't need to say any more than what I've said in the past around it. But there are bigger issues in the game than drivers talking on the track and colours. And, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't change where your horse finishes in a race.
No.
It might change where you're looking at, but I don't know. How do you have 6 sets of different colours if you're Stonewall Stud or you're Robert Jenna or you can only have so many variations of their 3, and I know that Duns have got different variations of their colours. Mark Jones has a black and white set for his black with white diamonds, which is his normal set. He's got the reverse set, which is white with black diamonds, and then he's got a pink and white set.
Yeah. So
we haven't seen the pink set for a very long time. Duns have obviously got some variations to theirs, which is good. I don't know.
It's just one of those ones, and like I said, it was only once I got to the Holmes DG and I looked in, I'm like, oh, Barry and Scotty have got those ones going as well. So just one of those things. As you said, there are definitely bigger things, but I just, as a trying to attract new people, be able to see your horse and go from there. And I will say Max Shard goes in the 4th set of colours here because he's a 4th horse of Barry and Scotty Phelan's. If he then goes to the New Zealand Trotting Cup, and he's the 2nd horse of theirs if they've got 4 in that race in the final. So, Cold Chisel won't, but it ends up being the 4th, and he goes in a different set of colours. Is that a good thing either? And that goes back against the drivers' colours as well, because if Crystal drives him one week and then Wilson House drives him and then, Paul Campbell drives him or whatever, he's in a different set of drivers' colours every week as well. So that doesn't help. I don't actually know the answer, but is one of those little ones that.
Yeah, I think it's a case of getting used to it too. Like, I know when I tune into Menangle Harness to watch, I know the colours that I'm looking for, and they're usually purple and yellow. And if they're not out there, yellow and black. And I'm talking of Cam's
are blue.
Colour.
They're blue and yellow.
Blue. Well, they look purple on my television over here. They look like a shade of purple. And obviously Jack Callahan's, and I'm used to that now. So that's where I think it doesn't matter what they're driving. In most cases, with those 2 guys in particular, if Zachary Butcher had his own set of colours that he drove in, and he has got his own colours because he trains, obviously, which is one big thing that New Zealand's got in its favour. A lot of these guys actually train, whether it's just 1 or 2 horses. That wouldn't worry me because I'd probably know that if there was 4 Barry and Scott Phelan horses in the race, Zach in his own colours is going to be on the best horse 99 times out of 100.
Yeah, I see the other side of it too. Say Stone will win the New Zealand Trotting Cup, they want that horse in their colours because that's their brand. So there is that side of it as well. But if it's not the New Zealand Trotting Cup, maybe we have to have a bit of wiggle room. I don't know. Anyway, it is.
Are you sure those colours are purple? Purple.
Blue.
Yeah.
They're blue and yellow. They're actually my colours.
They look purple.
They are the same. They are actually my colours. I'm telling you, they are blue. They are blue and gold.
Okay, I'll believe you.
You go back and
maybe I'm colourblind.
Only in the eyes. It's not too bad. Good race coming up. Sooner the better. Merlin, Max Shard, just a terrific race. Jollymont. That's a great little race, and of course with Cold Chisel being already into the Velocity.
Yeah, great wee race actually. Obviously added to by throwing Cold Chisel in there as well. That's a big ask for him taking on some of those horses. Merlin will be undoubtedly improved from his first up run, but so too will Sooner the Better, and of course Max Shard. The horse that I've actually got a bit of a watch on this week, and he kind of got lost a little bit in the fresh up performance of Merlin and Sooner the Better, the Big Lebowski, owned by Merv and Meg Butterworth, Ray Green. That's a combination we knows how to get one ready for the New Zealand Trotting Cup. I believe they are quite keen on getting down to Addington if they can work their way into the field. Now, he had not raced since June of 23 the other night, and he came out, and I thought he was cracking through the line. He will improve in leaps and bounds in that, and he's the sort of horse that if Andre Patama was to get him away quickly, he could find the front, and he would just run them into the dirt. He would just keep going and keep going. He's like the old out-and-out stayer. He turned quite a few heads when he went up north last year. I think his first up win, he beat some pretty nice horses. So, yeah, keep an eye on him. He's a horse that'll improve over the next month.
I was actually at Invercargill, his last win, when Johnny Morris drove him, and it was blowing an unearthly wind because I actually realised I had to get on a plane. I was watching these planes going in backwards to land, and I was sort of giggling at them and then realised that I was got to get on one of those to get out. So it wasn't such a great feeling. But he was pretty awesome that day, and I think Johnny was on the same plane. He said he thinks that was it. He was going north, and yep, he has, and he's gone on to bigger and better things. What about for the rest of the card? There's some nice little races there, but anything that jumps out and grabs you?
Oh, I'm just excited to see Talented Philly, and You're the One That I Want back in action. She obviously had 4 starts last campaign for 3 wins and a second. She's going to go on and do a pretty good job. She'll be a player in all our 2-year-old fillies races going forward. So, yeah, that's Friday night for me.
And then Wyndham on Friday. There was a couple there, actually. I think there was a return. I think Nathan Williamson had a couple return.
Your Dreams Are Free resumes in the last of the day.
Yeah, last race, and Advanced Party as well in that race. So he should be winning that, though.
Yeah, if he's screwed down enough. And I don't think it's important that he does win this week. It's probably just important that he finds the line and charges through it and does everything right, I think, from Nathan's point of view. I'm actually due to speak to Nathan once I've finished talking with you. So I'll know more in about probably, I don't know, what have we got, another hour left? I'll know more in about an hour and a quarter.
Well, we've only got to discuss method, so yeah, probably an hour and a half, actually.
Yeah, true.
Go from there. Rightio, let's play at home for you. This is just a magic meeting. I know Brad Steele, talking to him the other day, that he's looking forward to heading up there. Just one thing we haven't discussed, and back to those colours thing and everything else along those lines, hats off to New Zealand Harness Racing, the TAB, Entain, and everyone. 15% increase in betting turnover year on year for the month of August, I believe that was, or September. Might have been. No, it must have been August because September's wouldn't be done yet. Outstanding, and that's what this industry's needed. We've done a lot of changes. The industry's done a lot of changes, and it's just great to see.
It is, harness racing has pulled its socks up over here in the last 2 to 3 months and is really trying to elevate itself. Entain have been a huge part of that too. The development of Friday Night Lights, I think, has created a lot more interest on our prime racing slot. Field sizes are huge, particularly now because we're getting into the grass track stuff. So that's always a big help too, because there's more chance for investment. Yeah,
definitely. But it is really cool. Rightio, method. I had everything up, and then you started talking, so I got wandering with my mouse, and I shouldn't do that. 12:20 is the first race. These are big days. Are we going to go through every race, or are we just going to highlight?
We only need to talk about 2, Paul, and they are races 8 and 9.
Oh, yeah. Big fields, though. You've got to be wrapped in the size of the fields. 15, 16 horse runners in most of those. Which race did you say? Sorry.
Race 8.
Oh, the man. Yes.
The What the Hills Fillies and Mares Trotting Classic.
Now, this race got me because it's purely off the fact that there's so many fillies and names that I know, but there are so many fillies going into a grass track race. This is brilliant.
Yep. And some good ones too. This has been a good race. Mifflin came up with this race probably 10 years ago, and they've run it every year since. What I would say is you'll be looking at that field and you'll see Euro style down the bottom off the 30-metre handicap. It ran second in the DG Jones Banks Peninsula Trotting Cup 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Beaten by Mr. Love. You would look at that and go, well, this horse is just going to absolutely street them. 30-metre handicap over 2,400 metres at Mifflin is very, very hard to try and make up, especially if you get some horses that like to bowl along in front. And we have got a couple there. The Bloss is there. She likes to lead and run. Forgiveness could step and run. Rush could step and run. So while she is, without doubt, the best horse in the race, Euro style, the task in front of her is massive.
Yeah, very good. But it's an exciting race. I'll be well and truly watching that one. And then you have the Methven Cup. BD Joe, a horse you said there just recently was going to drop out of the top 15 runners, I believe, going through. And he's no shoe-in to win this race, that's for sure, because, well, there's some horses stepping out here. Pin Seeker for Johnny Cox. Got to say huge well done to them. Him and Kimberly, they sponsored me with the prostate cancer, so thank you very much to those guys. But Da Vinci, American Me, last year's winner. This is a great field, and it's going to have a lot of connotations, I would imagine, for races coming up in the near future.
Particularly the 2 horses at the bottom of the book. They are 2 horses that are, if you were using an up and down graph, are on the way down at the moment. And BD Joe's is largely standing start related. He just can't seem to get it right. He galloped away in the Canterbury Classic. His work afterwards was very good. But he would need to run top 2 to try and even push his name for conversation of coming back into the top 15. American Me is an interesting one, and I had a conversation with Tim White this afternoon about where he's at. He's obviously had 2 starts back. He sat in the trail after finding the lead in the Hannah Memorial and looked like he blew out in the last 200 metres. You're okay with that. You went, right, he'll improve off the back of that. He was then well below par last week in the Canterbury Classic. And I sort of put it to Tim, I said, are you feeling like there's a bit of pressure to get a result this week? And Tim and Brent are both of the opinion, and I know that one of the owners, Steve Hollander, is as well, that maybe just as a 7-year-old, he's taken a few more starts to get his fitness levels back up. Now, he gets the perfect opportunity back on the grass, a place that he knows and he's raced well at in the past, obviously, as a previous winner of this race 12 months ago. But there's one big concern for the American Me camp, and I've got one big concern around it for a number of horses, and that's that Mefford's supposed to cop about 50 mils of rain between Wednesday night and Friday morning. Now, whether that eventuates or not, but we are going to get some rain at some point, so it's not going to be a nice firm grass track for them to race on. If we ended up with a really wet track, I would say some of those horses will not line up just for the threat of a really gut-busting 3,000 metres on a wet grass track. So there's question marks there around those 2. Pinseeker was at the Methven workouts last week. He had a quiet run. Coxie buried him on the fence and then pulled him out, and his last 200 metres was very, very good. He looks ready. But there's a lot of horses here that are trying to push their case for a New Zealand Trotting Cup start. So I would imagine it's going to be all on in earnest. Even a horse like Da Vinci has got a chance. He goes well on grass tracks. So it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds.
Methven is only a harness track. It is a grass track.
Correct.
Yeah. So do they run it if they get, like, is there a chance it could be called off?
No, not looking at the weather forecast because we're pretty clear from Friday through to Sunday. I think they'd still power through it. In any case, I must one day get you to bring up a video of a horse called Burton Bailey winning at Methven, just to show you what kind of conditions they run in. In fact, if I get it, I can send it to you now, and you might be able to get it up on screen while we continue to talk. How about you spell the horse's name? Hang on, wait till I get to the horse search, and I'll get you to spell it, because that's never been my strong point. That's for sure. You know that.
What'd you say?
But yeah, the Methven Cup this year, it's Buriton, Buriton.
Hang on, Burit.
ON.
Bailey, did you say?
Yep. And then you'll have to go to race starts.
Hang on, I've got to get the go part first. I'm happy with my internet, so my internet's not going to crash. See, so I'm happy with that.
You're winning. That's a good thing.
By Tinted Cloud out of Lombo May.
Trained by a couple of now Australian, or trained by an Australian and driven by a now Australian, and Anthony and Timothy Butt.
Oh, it was too. Okay, when do we have to go
so
back?
If you've gone to winning performances in that drop-down tab.
Oh, hang on. So you won?
At Methven on the 10th of October.
I've got to hit go. I was going to say nothing's working, but it's okay. We're getting there. So his last win.
Yeah.
All right. This is not live, but we should do live, you and I. This is actually holy.
No, we shouldn't.
Hang on a sec. I just got to do this first. This is actually the holding screen. Man. Actually, I better get. I better close your name off here somewhere. Where's that? Bang! We'll get rid of your name. That is ridiculous. Holy.
So, just for a bit of context, that's not rain either.
Is that snow?
That's snow.
Were you there?
Yes. So this was the last race of the day, I think, off the top of my head. You wouldn't believe it. The day it actually started, I reckon at 12 o'clock for the first 2 or 3 races, it was 23, 24 degrees. And then a southerly hit, and this is what we were faced with for the last race. So Anthony Butt, being Anthony Butt, the clever man that he is, just jumped to the front and thought, bugger it, I'll be in front and I'll probably stay here. Here's some of the most bizarre racing conditions I think I've ever witnessed. You've gone from in shorts and socks. That's how white it is. Like it's not just a light dusting of snow. It's fully just coming down. And yeah, Burett and Bailey led up and delivered for the punters in the last. There you go. That's a good indication of how much snow we had.
That is outstanding. That is outstanding work by you. I'm very, very impressed. People watch Over the Ditch. They never know what they're going to expect, and that is brilliant.
So to answer your question of about 5 minutes ago, will they call Methven off? I'd probably say no.
So was that scheduled to be the last race?
Yeah.
Wow.
Literally, it was sunshine, it blew a gale, it rained, and then it snowed. We had all 4 seasons in one day that day.
Can I ask a random question?
Yeah, of course.
How do you remember that it was Berrington Bailey that won that last race?
Oh, because we've talked about it a few times, and you know that I'm friends with Kimberly Butt, and that conversation comes up a few times. And I'll always remember it because Dave McDonald, who some people will remember as the famous Southland race caller, we invited him up to be a guest commentator at Methven one day. And him and I were standing in the Brown pub at Methven at about 1:30 in the morning before the races, and it was snowing. And he said, oh, well, we might as well keep on pressing on because the races won't be on. So I got him the video of Burett and Bailey out and showed him, and I said, no, you better go to bed. So there you go. That's how I remember. I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but I can remember random things like that.
A random horse that won 2 races, then you can actually remember. You can actually remember the horse's name and everything, which is outstanding. Right, back to the Methven Cup. Who wins it?
Pinty.
Yeah.
If he's close enough to go home, I think his speed on the grass will carry him a very long way. And that's going to get interesting for him because he will get close to pushing his way into the cup, but it might force Johnny Sands into heading to Ashburton for the Ashburton Flying Stakes as well.
Yep. Okay. Very, very good. He's a dynamic horse. I wonder whether it might be 1 year too early, but he's going to be a great horse to follow for another year's time. That is for sure. And he's going to take Johnny on a hell of a ride. And he deserves a couple of nice horses around him, and he's got a couple. They're actually, got some nice horses.
Certainly does. And he's got a nice team coming through. On a gear 3 at the workouts on Saturday up here at Methven, and he's got a first starter going to Wyndham on Friday called Disco Inferno, who is a half brother to a horse called B-Maxi, who did a good job over in Queensland after actually being purchased off Johnny and Kimberly.
I looked that horse up, Disco Inferno. I can't remember. It's by Fiery Dragon.
Fear the Dragon. Yeah.
Fear the Dragon out of something Hot Dance or something else like that. I was like, yeah, it's actually with quite a well-named horse. So, yeah, going forward. Right, mate. Thank you. As always, do appreciate it. We will do this show again next week. I'll put this out now, but of course that's 6:30 for you guys. So who knows with my upload? My upload speed's still nothing special, but we're getting there. But I really do appreciate it. Great insight, great chat, great bit of banter. So I do appreciate you giving me the time, mate. And hopefully we'll be back next week with the show. Good luck to you. So you Friday Night Lights, you've only got one track to worry about.
Well, a bit of Wyndham later on. Because it's a twilight meeting because we have had our daylight savings day. So we'll see a lot more of those meetings running into the evenings as opposed to having to turn every car light on the place at 4:30 in the afternoon. So, a few more of them coming up. So you're not exactly sure how Friday Night Lights is going to work, but we'll see once I hear from them at some stage this week.
You do some of your best work without anyone telling you what's going on, so you'll be fine. Matty,
well, that's what I tell myself. Yeah.
Matty, thank you very much, mate.
No worries.